O God of our people and Lord of every nation. Let your word ring out from the mountains and your spirit shine forth in the earth, so that all may hear your teaching and all may do your will. Through Jesus Christ, our peace. Amen. Amen. Oh, it's good to be home, especially off that highway. I hope that you all had a wonderful week of Thanksgiving and time with family, friends, time to truly give thanks and to appreciate all that God has given us to celebrate that final week of our Christian year. It was wonderful, huh? I know we did. I got to spend time with my wonderful family, and particularly my two little nephews. One will soon be 2 years old. The other one is turning 5 in January. And it was the 5-year-old who's really into superheroes right now. Appropriate age for a young little boy. And he wanted to watch Captain Marvel. Not to be confused with Captain America. I was confused. I just want to help everybody else out there. Captain America is a man with a shield. Captain Marvel, I really like her. She's powerful. So we got to watch this movie together. And I tell you the story because if you haven't seen the movie, it is a truly amazing movie, and I think it has an Advent message in it. So now you all want to go home and watch it this afternoon with your popcorn. And I hope that I'm not ruining it if you haven't seen it. But, you know, she is a normal human being, and she comes into her superpowers as many superheroes do. I won't tell you how that happens, just trust me. But at the end of the movie, those who would be her captors have come and they're going to take her back with them. And so they have captured her and they're up in their spacecraft and they have her on her knees as a prisoner of war, and she is bound in this, well, it's a very dark kind of rope, but obviously it's kind of like a magic, super-powered rope. You can see the energy flowing through it, and this darkness that has her bind, and you can tell she's in pain by the way her body is, you know, represented there on kneeling on the ground. And then the movie cuts, and we actually go into her mind, and we get to see her vision. And in her vision, it is dark, it is misty. There is another character in that vision of hers. And that character begins to, what you're supposed to understand is to make her begin replaying all the times that she was knocked down off her feet. The times where she failed. She was knocked down because she didn't succeed at something. She was knocked down by a bully, or she was knocked down because she didn't beat the ropes course in her time as a military personnel. And all these times over and over and over and telling her, you are only human and you are nothing. And she seems trapped in the utter darkness, both surrounding her body physically and the darkness of these memories in her mind. And it is the power in those memories that she doesn't stay in the darkness of the times that she fell down. She actually begins to remember that each and every one of those stories, she got up. And the light from within begins to shine. It begins to shine in this vision, and it begins to break against this darkness, and then it begins to shine literally all over her body, and she will break the dark bindings that have her held down. That's the image of Advent, my friends. This is what Advent calls us to. This morning we heard the prophetic words of Isaiah, and truth be told, the prophetic words of Jesus in the Gospel of Matthew. In Isaiah, however, we get to hear the happy words of the prophecy. See, Isaiah, the book itself, begins in chapter 1 with the vision of Isaiah, which he saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem in the days of all those kings. The wickedness of Judah, hear, O heavens, and listen, O earth. The Lord spoken. I reared children and brought them up, but they have rebelled against me. Ah, sinful nation, people laden with iniquity, offspring who do evil, children who deal corruptly, who have forsaken the Lord. I am so glad we didn't start with those words today, aren't you? But see, that was the vision. The vision. So Isaiah wrote it down. But it's not proclaimed. It's not the word. It was what he saw, that dark vision. The people are corrupt. They have sinned against God and they are not being repentant. And so God says at the end of chapter 1, they, the strong, shall become like tinder, their works like a spark. And they and all their works together shall burn together, with no one to quench them. The end of a very dark vision. And we open instead with chapter 2, the word that Isaiah saw concerning Judah and Jerusalem. And this is the word he was to speak. In the days to come, the mountains of the Lord's house shall be established as the highest of mountains. It shall be raised above the hills, and all the nations shall stream to it. All the peoples will come and say, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the house of the God of Jacob, because his grace is about to rain down upon us. Wow, that's a much better start to our morning. So I'm glad we got that one. But you see, Isaiah was living in the reality of Judah and Jerusalem. That vision that he had at first of their sinfulness, of the corruptness going on at the levels of power and government, it was real. We live in times just like it. There's never been a time, necessarily, throughout the history of the world where there hasn't been corruption at some form or level, right? I mean, we're humans. We sin. We make mistakes. We break rules. We hurt each other. And we do it because we're greedy and we want gain and we want to take care of us versus them. Those kinds of things. That's the vision that Isaiah saw. And yet God says that is not what I have purposed, and it is not my plan. I have a different plan for you. I have a plan where every one of you worships together and you worship me. For plows, their swords shall be beaten into plowshares, spears into pruning hooks. Nation shall not lift up sword against nation, and they shall not learn war anymore. Oh, might that prayer be answered, Father. Now, when we jump over to the gospel, Jesus wasn't as happy. We don't exactly get the happy words this morning necessarily in here in chapter 24, but we need to understand where chapter 24 sits. It sits right after chapter 23. In chapter 23, Jesus has just finished going, woe to you, Pharisees and scribes! You corrupt the people. You burden the people with your laws and all the things that you do, you brood of vipers. Oh, Jerusalem, Jerusalem! Why will you not come under my wing? And then Jesus takes a walk with his disciples into the temple. And they begin to point out to him the beauty and the splendor of those buildings. Do you see all these? Truly, I tell you, not one stone of them will be left here upon another, for all will be thrown down. That's where we pick up a few verses later in 36. Because the disciples want to know, when is that going to happen? Because the destruction of this beautiful temple, this icon of our faith, when it's destroyed, are we not also destroyed? When will this happen, Lord? And he begins to sit down and he teaches them and he tells them of the coming persecutions and all of these things. He brings up images from the prophet Daniel in his day and the coming of the Son of Man. And finally we pick up with what he says to us about that day and hour no one knows, not the angels, not the Son of Man, only the Father. For it will be as the days of Noah In those days before the flood, all was normal. Eating, drinking, marrying, giving in marriage, until Noah entered the ark. The floods came and swept them all away. So too will be the coming of the Son of Man. Not a very happy thought. But I think what Jesus was saying, because we know what year the temple was torn down and destroyed. It's happened. That prophecy has been fulfilled. It was in 70 AD. And not as an infant in a manger, but as the Son of God, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, the one who will judge the quick and the dead. He is coming. Will you be ready? This is the Advent question, but it is also, Advent is the gift of hope. You see, just like Captain Marvel, that superhero woman, we all are sometimes brought down. We are entrapped by the darkness that may pull literally and physically and sometimes figuratively around us and on us. It can be the darkness that is within our own minds, the darkness of an illness or waiting for that diagnosis that we haven't heard yet, the darkness of realizing that we just got laid off and it's 4 weeks till Christmas, the darkness in the family where the parent already works 2 jobs and they realize they need a third or there won't be a Christmas in their home. The darkness of having to bury your child, or the darkness of sitting with your dying parent. These are realities that you and I live in, just like the days of Noah, the days of Isaiah, the days of Jesus. Life can be dark, and we deal with many things. But there is a Christian hope that is greater than the darkest of dark. Like when we go down in a cave, remember, and they turn off the lights and suddenly you can't open your eyes wide enough to see your own hand in front of your face. Darkness. But see, there is a hope. And that Christian hope says this. Christian hope is to live with confidence in the newness and the fullness of life, and to await the coming of Christ in glory and the completion of God's purpose for the world. Check it out, Catechism, page 861. It's right there in the prayer book. But that is our Christian hope, to live with confidence in newness and fullness of life. To proclaim that Christ's glory is coming, that God's purpose will be completed, to know it beyond a shadow of the doubt, no matter what the darkness may want to prevail, just like Captain Marvel. But she allowed that inner light within her to break the bonds that wanted to hold her back. My friends, we are more than superheroes. That's a wonderful movie and comic creation of someone's imagination, but you and I have something more than superpowers. We have literally the light of Christ living in us. And even on those darkest or dark places within us, God's light shines. It shines. And it may feel very dim or far away at times, but it's in there. That's the hope that lives in us. That's the hope that we hold on to and we allow it to shine. And sometimes our hope is burning very brightly. And that's when we need to be faithful and obedient to let that hope shine for someone else too.